Hey everybody, Curtis Tucker here for another exciting episode of the podcast. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate you guys. This is going to be one of those episodes. If you guys are listening on your favorite podcasting app, you're going to want to probably head over to curtistucker.com and look for the blog post there, or go to youtube.com/Curtis Tucker and see some of the video. There's going to be a lot of visuals in this episode that I think you guys are going to want to see. So go ahead and listen if you can, and then zip over and check out the video later. If you guys are watching the video now, hey, great to see you. So this is going to be a little bit of an unusual podcast episode. It deals with kind of a combination of Todd and I's other podcast episodes. So just to fill you in real quick, we do the 70s Buzz podcast and the Buzzhead Radio podcast every week. And we've got a great following, especially on the 70s Buzz podcast. And we've got so many people that follow us on there or are our listeners and call in or email or message us so often that they have actually kind of become part of the show. And they've also, even though most of them, pretty much all of them, we've never met, Todd and I, but we've been doing it so long and communicating with them so long that they are now basically friends of ours. And so, Dave's been calling in for years, and then Christopher Todd is actually now does guest appearances on the Buzzhead Radio episode. And then here lately, Gretchen from Virginia has been calling in, and, almost every week, Todd and I, we tell everybody, hey, if you guys are ever in the Enid area or get to Oklahoma, let us know. And, if you're in some other part of the state and we can get there, we might, be able to come meet you and have dinner and just say hi. But if you're ever in the Enid area, stop by. We'd buy you dinner at Callahan's and try to get you on the podcast. And so a lot of people have said, if they're in the area, that they would do that. And then we kind of threw that out there again the other day on the 70s Buzz podcast. And one of our loyal listeners, Gretchen, over in Virginia, made a comment that she might be able to come to Enid. And this was like maybe a month or two ago, and talked about coming in the future. And so we were kind of going back and forth, and her and Todd were kind of texting back and forth. And at some point, Todd made a comment about, if somebody comes, I do have a guest house. And that kind of opened the door for Gretchen to come because, there's not that added expense. Now, I don't know if Todd's guest house is always going to be available, so I don't want to tell everybody, come on and you can stay at Todd's guest house. But it just happened that at this point, it was available. And so Gretchen actually set up everything to fly into Tulsa, Oklahoma and come visit. And she was able to get away and wanted to get away and come see Enid and all the things that we talked about, and actually just kind of explore Oklahoma a little bit because she had never been here. And so she actually took a week off. And so it kind of became a mini adventure for Todd and I to not even have to leave Enid. We got to have a little adventure here. So what I'm going to do is here in the beginning kind of describe fairly quickly what some of the things that we did, highlight some of the things we did, and I'll intermix some video showing you where we were or what we did. And then towards the end of this podcast, I had Gretchen come over to Shaggy Duck Studio, and we did a podcast episode together where she talked about coming to Enid and all the kind of some of the things that she had done. So this is what this episode is about. So Gretchen came in last Thursday. Well, I say last Thursday, 2 Thursdays ago, actually, and flew into Tulsa, Oklahoma. She got in like around 10 o'clock. So Todd and I, we drove over to Tulsa, had dinner. Hey, everybody. Curtis Tucker, Todd Wheeler with 70s Buzz Podcast, Buzzhead Radio, all that good stuff. We are in the vehicle on our way, leaving Enid right now, headed to Tulsa to pick up one of our listeners. What, are we crazy? Has anybody ever done that? Any podcaster ever had a listener just come? I don't know. So we've been doing this over 7 years. First time we've actually had a listener want to come to Enid, Oklahoma just to hang out. So we're going to go get Gretchen in Tulsa and be back tonight. And we'll let you guys follow along on the adventure. So see you soon. Hey everybody, we made it to the airport. Now we got the wait, and then we
Hurry up, Gretchen.
Oh my God,
Where
what time is
you?
it? Okay, the wait is on. Here we go. Okay, here we are. She is off the airplane. Are you guys ready? Here she comes.
What if she's a hugger?
She's about to get hugged. Let's find out.
What's going on?
What's happening?
Oh, it's a flower. Good.
How are you? You made it. Welcome to Oklahoma. Restroom before we go? Good? Okay, we're gonna go get luggage and head to Enid. Here we go. And then I picked her up at the airport and drove back late. I think we got home probably about 12:30 on that Thursday, and then she stayed, like I say, in Todd's guest house. So that Friday, it just happened to be really cold. We were just coming out of an Arctic freeze, so it was really cold on Friday. So there wasn't a whole lot to do, especially outdoors, but we all met for lunch. I think Todd and her kind of hung out. I had some work to do. Then we met at Callahan's. So we're famous for going to Callahan's every Tuesday night. It's kind of our pre-podcast meal. And so Friday nights are kind of the hopping night at Callahan's. So we took her there on Friday night. We'll just wave. Hey, everybody. Eating at Callahan's for the first time.
For some reason, I always make a face. I don't know why.
And then took her to Oklahoma is famous for having Brahms ice cream stores, which they also serve hamburgers and have a little grocery and dairy area, but they're famous for their ice cream and shakes and banana splits. So we took her there afterwards and hung out and talked and kind of caught up. And then
Say hi.
hey, everybody. And Saturday, we got up and went to so here's one of the, part of the thing for Todd and I is we hadn't really been to the Oklahoma Railroad Museum. I had been a long time ago, but hadn't been since they really updated. So we took her to the Oklahoma Railroad Museum here in Enid, Oklahoma, which is this huge museum with a lot of model trains set up on tracks that just go forever. And then there's actually train tracks outside with cabooses and engines and the big long cars where people would eat, dining cars and stuff like that. So we got to explore all of that. So that was cool. Hey, Buzzheads, we're down here hanging out at the Railroad Museum of Oklahoma. Choo choo. Guess who's here? Gretchen. Gretchen made it all the way from Virginia, checking out the trains. You guys come to Enid. You guys can come check out the trains yourself. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Kind of drove around Enid. We're going to go by another museum, but it was closed. But we showed her some of the highlights of Enid. there's this one place where a bunch of older retired business owners go. They call it the warehouse, and they kind of just sit around and talk and gossip and tell old stories. And so we took her there on Saturday. Okay, we are in the Bat Cave, the unknown location. Gretchen drinking her iced tea over there.
That's some good tea.
And then the guy that owns that took Todd and her out to dinner that night. I went ahead and tried to get stuff done Saturday night because we had a big day on Sunday. So on Sunday, we loaded up and drove to Stillwater, Oklahoma to Eskimo Joe's to have some of their famous bacon cheese fries. So we had bacon cheese fries and ate dinner or lunch at Eskimo Joe's in Stillwater, and then they've got an adjoining Joe's Clothes t-shirt shop. So we went in there. She bought some stuff for her family and friends, but it's been said that Eskimo Joe sells more t-shirts than anybody in the world other than Planet Hollywood. Not Planet Hollywood, Hard Rock Cafe. And so whether that's true or not, I don't know. And maybe Eskimo Joe's may sell more t-shirts than Hard Rock Cafe now, who knows? But they sell them worldwide. You see them in movies and in almost anywhere you go, you see them. So anyway, we stayed there in Stillwater for a little while. Then
I think it was just routine. Yeah. I think it was just a habit. It wasn't like
Then we drove to Oklahoma City and went to the Cowboy and they've renamed it the Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. It used to be the Cowboy Hall of Fame, and now it's the Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, I think. It's right there in Oklahoma City. And so we went through that and spent, I think, about 3 hours in there and didn't even come close to being able to see everything in detail, but just tons of paintings. They had one area that was just all famous stuff from Western TV shows and TV series. One area that was just famous bull riding and rodeo type stuff. Areas with cavalry stuff. I mean, it was just packed full of cowboy stuff. Really cool. They had little different shows that you could watch, videos. They had little TV screens that you could watch. So we did that, and then we hit a Sonic for a drink and then headed back home. And again, that was on Sunday. Yep. Nothing's popping in my head on Monday. But then Tuesday, got up, and Tuesday, of course, is, let's see, Monday. Oh, Monday we ran out to the airport. They've got a restaurant out at the airport, and we met one of our buddies out there, had lunch out there. Yeah, and then Todd and Gretchen kind of went around and looked at some of the stuff around town.
Okay, here we are, Spider Tunnel. Going in. Let's go. There we go. Whoa! Watch out for the bars on the side. Okay. I think my feet are gonna get wet. What could that be? Oh crap. Oh well. Your shoes are probably gonna get wet. It's getting deeper. And it's getting stinkier. How far you want to go?
well, I can't mess up my shoe.
We better go back. It's getting muddy and deeper. And it's starting to smell, and it's coming off the roof, so. Okay, well, I wish it was dry. It wouldn't be any big deal.
And then Tuesday, which is podcasting day, so then we met at Callahan's for dinner, had dinner at Callahan's and kind of the pre-podcast meal, and then went over to Todd's, and Gretchen was on the 70s Buzz podcast and Buzzhead Radio, and I will get that, so you can listen to those episodes. They're already uploaded from last week, but I did video those, and I'm going to mix in a little bit of the video. We gave each other a couple of gifts, so I might try to include some of the opening of that, but basically I videoed all of us doing both podcasts, and so I'll mix in some of that video here, but I'll try to get those uploaded probably to youtube.com/Curtis Tucker, where you can, if you want to, you can see behind the scenes of both full podcasts, how we kind of go from one podcast right into the other one. So it'll probably be a long video, and you can just stop it in the middle and watch half and then watch the other half later or whatever. So that was Tuesday. So we got done podcasting Tuesday night, and then Wednesday, decided I had obligations that I needed to do. So Kip and Todd took Gretchen to what we call the Gloss Mountains, which are these mesas about 45 minutes away from Enid, and you basically just climb up, and you're just up, and it's everything around is just really flat, so you can see for miles and miles and miles, and it's just really, really cool. And I didn't go, but I've been there, so I might include some of my footage of what that looks like. But Gretchen got to go there, and then we've got a artesian well that puts out really clean water that people stop and get drinking water from. And then we met, and then Gretchen came over here on Wednesday. We did this podcast episode that you're about to hear, and then it was kind of settle in and get everything repacked. And then, that morning we had, Monday morning, I don't know, one of those mornings we had met at a restaurant called We Two, and Gretchen and I had tried to get a huge cinnamon roll, but they didn't have any, and so we went back to that same restaurant Thursday morning, got our huge cinnamon rolls, and then basically Gretchen and Todd left from that restaurant, and they drove to Tulsa. Todd was going to have to see his uncle in Tulsa, so I didn't go. Then she flew back to Virginia, and so I'm trying to think if there was any other things. You'll see the video. I'll try to mix in, like I said, a bunch of the just really short clips of the video, and kind of show you. And then, for other people, we would love to have more people, anybody that wants to come to Enid and see where we grew up and all the stuff that we talk about on this podcast, on the 70s Buzz podcast and all that. But I don't know that, we're going to be able to do as much for anybody, or have the time. It just, everything kind of worked out where Todd had more time than I had, but we just, we were able to do a lot of stuff with Gretchen. I can't promise that for everybody, so it might just be a 1 or 2 day deal, 1 or 2 night. But even if it's not a Tuesday night, if you can make it to Enid, we can always maybe record our podcast at a different time and then play it back. So we would love to get you guys in Enid, show you some of the highlights of where we grew up and how cool Enid, Oklahoma is. So anyway, all of that to say, the rest of this episode is going to be my interview with Gretchen, and I did video it. So again, if you're just listening to this podcast, go over and check it out, and you can see Gretchen and I, and we recorded it here in Shaggy Duck Studio. So anyway, without any further ado, here is the interview with Gretchen Waller, all the way from Virginia. Enjoy.
I suppose.
Okay, here we go. Hey everybody, Curtis Tucker here with another exciting episode of the podcast. We have a special guest in Shaggy Duck Studio. Gretchen is here all the way from Virginia. And so I've kind of been talking about Gretchen coming to Enid, and she's been on the 70s Buzz podcast and the Buzzhead Radio podcast. And gosh, you've been here almost a full week tomorrow.
I go home tomorrow.
You go home tomorrow. So, because this one's a little bit separate, and I have a few different listeners, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, kind of what you do, and just a little bit of your background.
Okay, I'm Gretchen. I found the 70s Buzz podcast, like a year and a half ago-ish, just because I was looking for something 70s to listen to on Spotify. And I put that in the search and I found this. And then I realized that it had been going for like 6 years, 7 years, whatever. So I had to go back and listen to every episode in order. And I've been listening ever since. Our timelines were different until they intersected finally.
Very cool. So on the 70s Buzz, we talk about the 70s, which you're a fan of. That's what you were kind of looking for, nostalgia, I guess.
That's my childhood.
Your childhood, everybody, hopefully most of the people listening. And then on Buzzhead Radio, were you listening to Buzzhead Radio as well? Or did
I
that...
started to after listening to.
Okay, and we haven't really found our our focus there yet. We're just continuing to do it until we figure it out. But so on this podcast, what I want to do is try to bring kind of cool stories, and I want to say groovy stories, groovy people, things, but also adventure. So one of my big deals is always telling people, always have something to look forward to. Always plan an adventure, a trip, put it on the calendar, so there's always something to look forward to. It kind of gives you, I don't know, to me it gives you a little more positivity when you wake up every day knowing that, hey, 3 weeks from now I'm going to be going here or going there. But and then I'm always trying to talk people into, go on more adventures and stuff. You literally have gone on a big adventure. I mean, so kind of describe what made you decide to get on an airplane, fly to Oklahoma, and hang out with two guys you had never met in person before. I mean, that's a big adventure. I mean, what was it that made you want to come to Enid or to come be a part of the 70s Buzz? I mean, what was that?
It's hard to say. I was just listening to you guys talking about Enid all the time. And I don't really do it. I do little mini adventures, just
kind of in your area.
In my area and everything. I go on like some retreats with stuff, or we go on trips with a couple of friends or whatever, like small stuff. But I'd never been here before, and I kept hearing you guys talk about it every week. And I just wanted to step out of everything going on back home for a little bit and escape. And then I just started thinking this would be a really cool way to escape and a fun adventure to see stuff I'd never seen, go someplace I'd never seen, except for I knew a little bit about it, and I knew you guys, but I had never met you. And I didn't feel hesitant about it. My people felt hesitant about it for me.
I can't imagine what people were saying to you, thinking you were crazy. But, well, that makes us feel really good, though, that we have described Enid, because the reason I started blogging and the podcast is because I just loved growing up in Enid. I mean, there's nobody in the world that could have had a better growing, even though I had setbacks. I had no dad, I had my mom, we didn't make a lot of money, we didn't own our house, we rented, but I always felt like it was the best, I had the best, funnest, coolest childhood growing up in Enid in the 70s. And so that was the reason of doing the podcast, was to describe to people what it was like to Enid. So I'm glad we describe it enough that somebody would actually want to come kind of check it out and kind of see. So that was another one of my questions I was going to ask you. So what did it kind of live up to? I know it's not the 70s anymore, but did we kind of describe it in a way of kind of how it looks and feels? And I know we haven't you and Todd went through West Broadway, and we didn't get to spend a lot more time of me giving you little details, but was it kind of what you had in mind of what it was going to be like here in Enid? Or has it been completely different?
Both.
Both.
I didn't know what to expect. I had abstract expectations, like knowing you guys more or less than more, and knowing kind of an idea of what was here from you talking about it, but it was all just kind of theoretical. And then, so I didn't really know what to expect. And it's, I guess, I feel like it's better not to have expectations.
Yeah.
And then when I got here, it's been better than what I could have expected.
Oh, well, cool. Well, good.
Just everything about being here. Everything's just been so fun and so enjoyable and better than I would have expected if I let myself expect anything.
Yeah, gotcha.
And I think I related to the whole idyllic childhood thing similar to you, because I feel like the same about my hometown and my childhood in my little town of Westfield in New Jersey. Idyllic. We did a lot of the same type of things as you guys. And although I didn't, not that I didn't, your dad was out of the picture, mine was in the picture, but I wished you weren't. And there wasn't a lot of money, and there was a lot of not so great stuff, I guess, in my household at the time. But at the same time, everything about my childhood, even, I don't know, somehow the dysfunction, my brother and I made it fun. We made it, it's all we knew. So
Yeah.
We just took what we had and I mean, that's why that tape that we played on the podcast, that's not the only thing from our childhood. Charlie and I made cassette recordings all the time of just stupid stuff. And we took even like our family dysfunction and turned it into something comic and funny. And so to us now, it's so messed up to other people, but it's funny to us.
That's cool. So tell everybody what age difference is there between you and your brother?
13 months.
13 months. Okay.
was
So me and my
born-
sister are 11 months. We were born in the same year.
that's right.
But unfortunately for me and my sister, we chose the route of fighting. So I don't know if it was because we were so close in age, but we always argued. And so I don't have the cassettes of me and my sister. It was always me and my friends making the cassettes and always pranking my sister. And so I don't really have, but although my sister and I did, I mean, we were latchkey kids because my mom was single and had to work all day. And so we made our own adventures, but it seems like more of my adventures were sneaking friends in the back door when I wasn't supposed to.
I know all this. I listened to the podcast.
Yes. So, but yeah, so that's cool that you and your brother got along so well.
Yeah, but we also were like
So you did,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I want to, hopefully I wasn't the only kid that, now Todd and his sisters were so far apart in age that I don't think they ever really fought. But yeah, having a sibling, and then our daughters are 17 months apart, and they butt heads, but when it comes to dance, they'll get along, but then outside of dance, they kind of will butt heads, but they didn't, unfortunately for them, they didn't have the freedom to hang out all day and do things on their own, because I worked, as soon as we had them, I quit my job and started working at home. And so Dad was always at home.
Yeah, I don't even know what that's like.
Yeah.
I can't even, my growing up, I made myself scarce when he came home. Like, I don't even know what that's like.
Yeah. But, well, that's cool that you still had a great, you think of the 70s and 80s growing up as a great time. So, wow. So having been in Enid, and then going around to some of the things that we talked about in the 70s, but then also some of the things in Enid today, if somebody else, and we tell you guys every week, so we feel like we know pretty much half the people on that map, we feel like we know. You've either called us a lot, you've emailed us a lot, we know a lot about your lives. We know you guys know about our lives. And so we're always saying, if you're in the Enid area or Oklahoma, I mean, even in Oklahoma, come to Enid and we'll show you around. Or, we would meet, if somebody was flying into Oklahoma City, we would even cruise down and see somebody in Oklahoma City or whatever. But now that you've been in Enid and you've seen all the old stuff and all the new stuff, if somebody else that listens to our podcast were to come to Enid, what 3 things should we be sure that they do that you've done? Like, what would the top 3 things be from being a 70s fan, the things that you've done? And it could be something that you did outside of, because you've been on some trips around Oklahoma. So everything hasn't been Enid the whole time you've been here. But so what would be maybe the top 3 things that the next person coming along, we might know that, okay, we got to at least do these 3 things?
Well, right now, I'm still kind of riding high from Gloss Mountain.
Okay, so let's talk about the Gloss Mountains real quick. So Oklahoma, what a lot of people may not know about Northwest Oklahoma is we've got a lot of weird geographic things, like a Great Salt Plains, a Little Sahara Desert, and we've got the Gloss Mountains, and then we've got even another area called the Black Mesa, which is out by the Panhandle, which is kind of like the Gloss Mountains, but bigger on steroids. It is known worldwide as one of the darkest places in the world to go to take pictures of the Milky Way.
Okay, yeah, you talked about that.
Okay, so but the Gloss Mountains is kind of I guess they're plateaus.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, they're just these areas of ground that stick up out of the ground. So describe, how was that?
It was incredible. It was magnificent. It was a fun climb. It's kind of some steps and then just kind of climbing. And then you get up at the top and you turn around and you just see forever. And you see the other mountains, or
I guess mesas. Maybe that's what they're called, mesas.
And they're stripy, and the sky and the clouds. And we just kept going up till we got to the top. And then I stayed on the edge.
Oh, you did?
I walked along the edge the whole time. They were walking along the path.
See, you sound like me. Me and Staten went up there, and Staten was like, "Dude, you're gonna fall. Dude, you're gonna fall." Because I wanted to be. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I kept doing. I wanted to be by the edge, and I wanted to look over and see.
I took pictures. I sat down so you could see my legs, and you could see my sneakers, and took a picture. And I walked along the edge, the perimeter, like everywhere I could.
So Gloss Mountains would definitely be that we should take, because it's not that far away from Enid, 45 minutes or so.
And it was a fun ride.
And so Todd hangs out a lot at what we call the warehouse, which is kind of a bunch of older retired guys that like to just sit in a garage and talk. But Kip, over the years, has collected a lot of cool stuff, and he's got this car. So describe the car.
It's, I forgot what it's even called.
Spider, I think.
No, Tiger.
Tiger.
Yeah. It's a little red car, like the size of like a Triumph Spitfire.
Yeah, little short, low to the ground.
Mm-hmm. And he didn't take the top down, but it can be convertible. And it's a 66. And once we got on the road, Todd was behind us, and he asked me to hold his coffee. So I held his coffee, and then all of a sudden, I was like this, and we took off. We took off so fast.
Yeah, it's one of the fastest cars. I can't remember. It's like a little itty bitty car, but it's got like a huge Ford engine in it. I can't remember.
It's got a Ford engine.
I don't know what Ford, but like a V8 or something. It's some crazy engine in it. So
I got some coffee, Kip's coffee.
Oh, you did when he took off?
Yeah, it was
too funny.
But I didn't care. It was so fun. It was so fun. He was switching gears, so we kind of jerked around a little bit. But we left Todd the dust.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. So, but I have to say, if you come to Enid, I cannot promise a ride in Kip's car, but we will get you out to Gloss Mountains. Mm-hmm. So, and like she said, the cool thing about Gloss Mountains is once you're up on the mesa, because Oklahoma is so flat, you can see for miles. I mean, it's
It was
just
incredible.
it's cool. It's a cool. Whereas some areas like that, there's mountains in the way. In Oklahoma, if you get up high somewhere, you can usually see a long ways away.
I
Okay,
just
so
stood
that's
a few times and just stood there and looked and took it in
yeah.
because I don't want to ever forget.
You can always come back.
I think I might have to.
The invitation is always open. So okay, so that's let's don't say it's number one, but that's the top thing. So what else?
Train museum.
Train
I
museum.
would say warehouse, but
Yeah, we can't guarantee the warehouse because
that's just amusing.
yeah, the warehouse is it's cool because of the old guys and their stories, but you can't ever guarantee who's going to be there or any of that stuff. But the train museum, it's the Oklahoma Railroad Museum.
Yeah.
And so it's a combination of model trains and big trains and a lot of all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. You walk through and you can just watch the Lionels and the HOs going around in the little towns, the little people in the cars and the buildings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
mean,
could look at that for hours.
super detailed. Yeah, you could
Love
never.
all the miniature stuff.
Yeah, never see it all. Did you and your brother ever have a train set or something like that?
We had one, an HO, that went around the bottom of the Christmas tree. My father put it on plywood, and had the little cotton sparkly snow and all the little
cool.
light up Christmas houses from like, I don't know, 50s, 60s that we still had under the tree every year. I need to try to track them down. I don't know what happened to them, but I want them.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to the train or anything, but we had that. Yeah.
Probably garage sale like most of us. Everybody needed like $5 when you were in high school and you sold the train, but maybe it's in a
We
box
didn't sell them.
somewhere.
My father probably has them still.
Oh, huh. Maybe you can track them down. That'd be cool.
Well, I would know exactly where they are. I'd have to send Charlie into the trenches to maybe fetch it.
There you go. Okay. And then one more. Give me one more.
It's hard to narrow it down. I enjoy just riding around Enid and seeing all the buildings and seeing all the murals. Still got to take a picture of a few of them. Callahan's.
Yeah, I think Callahan's is probably going to be a must. But yeah, so Enid, there's so many people. The weird thing about Enid is there's so many people in Enid that say there's nothing to do. There's never anything to do. There's nothing to see, blah, blah, blah. But it's only been maybe the last 10, 8, maybe 8 years, 5, 8 years that we've started the mural thing. And so there are murals all over Enid, but not only murals, but we've got one of the most iconic downtown areas because it's a literal downtown square. I mean, we've got a square with the courthouse and the post office in the middle and old brick buildings that go all the way around. So the only thing we're missing is the really cool old courthouse in the middle that kind of looks like a clock tower. We had
Back
that.
to the Future.
And it burned down.
Oh.
And so they built the one that we have now. But other than that, we have got one of the, most iconic, when you're thinking about a movie, you could almost film one in downtown Enid. So there's a lot to look at.
Downtown Westfield, they actually filmed a lot of the TV show Ed.
Oh, really?
And the opening to the show was all in Westfield because it doesn't have the square and all that, but it's an old downtown similar to a northeastern version of an Enid type thing.
And Enid's has been updated. So a lot of the buildings have been updated and have facades on them. Guthrie has more of the old. They decided at some point to keep their buildings old looking. So they've got a downtown area that's more older looking. But you can make, if somebody was to do a film in Enid, which they have done. I mean, we've had several films filmed downtown. Dillinger. I don't know if Todd took you by any of the areas that were in the movie Dillinger.
If he did, he didn't mention.
Okay, so the 1973 movie Dillinger was filmed in downtown Enid, and at that time, all of the buildings looked old. Really, nothing had been updated. And so, anyway, so we've got murals, we've got a cool downtown, we've got, you went and got to see the Vance Air Force Base, the planes taking off and landing.
Yeah,
which,
how did I forget that?
If you live here for 10 years, it gets boring, but when you don't live here, it's kind of cool to see all the planes. Our grain elevators, we got huge grain elevators. You know, it's going to take you all of 10 minutes to look at those. But I don't know. We just have a whole lot of different, for a smaller town. I mean, we're about 50,000 people. But I don't know. We got some cool, kind of fun things that I think what happens in Enid is people get immune. It's like, you know, we go to Kansas City or Tulsa or something. There's like these things that we just want to eat at or see, and the people that live there are like, you guys are crazy. You know, that's not that big a deal. But when you are from out of town and everything's kind of new and cool, it is kind of a big deal.
All of it's a big deal. Even the little stuff is a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I'm enjoying every little bit of it. Because
Well,
it's all new
cool.
to me. I love the airplanes. They flew right over our heads.
Yeah, and they will fly all over your head, all over town. It's pretty crazy. But we've, you know, it's always been part of Enid, so make sure that's still going. Okay, so now you've gone on this adventure. Anything like have you ever like had a bucket list of things you want? No, not places you wanted to go or things you wanted to do.
I just kind of go with the flow. I mean, it's my dream to one day go to the Alps in Germany and Switzerland.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, I've always wanted to. But that's not one of those things that I think is attainable.
Oh,
This is attainable, so.
see, that's what I want my podcast to be. Is it's all attainable. It's way more attainable than anybody thinks it is. You just have to get a plan. You just have to make a plan, set a date on the calendar, and then figure out a way to get. I know it all comes down to money, but
This was a stretch right here.
yeah, that's why we were so surprised because we knew, and that's why it surprised us so much that you would take your vacation time or your off time when you could have gone to maybe other places and you came to Enid, which makes us feel pretty cool. Like, you know, come see us in Enid, or, you know. So that's pretty cool. And because you did do it, you did it, and you've gone on this adventure and you've come to Enid. Is there any advice now that you've done it that you would give other people that are out there that might be too scared to go do something, or, you know, or nervous, or, I mean, any advice now that you've done it, that you've come here to Enid and you've kind of seen how it's turned out?
I guess be brave. Because I didn't think that, I was nervous about doing it. I was feeling all the things about it. Super excited and like wanting to do it, but then I was feeling guilty, like I shouldn't go do this. I shouldn't take the time and go away from all my obligations and whatever. I need to just stay and do what needs to be done and stuff. And feeling nervous about the money and somewhat feeling nervous about the travel, just because I haven't been on a plane in like 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah. But I did it 22 years ago with two very tiny, a baby and a toddler. And that wasn't for an adventure. That was just because I had to. But I did it, and I didn't think that I could do that. But when I had to, I did. So I guess, and then everything that's been since then, I've had to do stuff kind of on my own that I wouldn't have ever thought that I could do. So this, which is something that I didn't have to do, but I wanted to do a lot, seemed like I could actually do it. And so I was anxious about it, but I was more excited about it, and there was a whole lot of anticipation, and I couldn't wait. I was counting the days. And now I'm not counting the days because I don't want to go home tomorrow.
Well, and I want this to be the lesson. I mean, this is what I want to preach on this podcast is we've all got obligations, and we all are, I mean, strapped for money at one time or another. But you guys, we got to get out there and do stuff. We got to take a chance. We've got to, sometimes you just got to say, screw it, I'm going to go do this. And because before we know it, I mean, look, we're 2 months into 2025 and I'm 62 years old and my life is just pew, 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 pew. And if you don't do it now, and I mean, within the last 3 months, I bet I know 5 people that have either close friends that either died or have cancer. And it's just all of a sudden it sprouted up. And so I just want people to not wait, it's never going to be the perfect time. You're never going to have the right amount of money. You're never going to have enough time to be able to just leave and ignore other things. But you just got to do it.
I grabbed a week when it was I wouldn't say the most convenient, the least inconvenient.
There you go.
And 0 regrets.
Awesome.
None. I'm so happy that I'm here.
That's what I want to hear. I mean, that's why we're glad you're here too. And I just want to encourage, and this has nothing to do about coming to Enid. It's just, even if it's, you guys, you just got to go do, if you got a dream, and look at me, I was 61, I guess, 61. I've always been a fan of Survivor and Big Brother, but being a stay-at-home dad and then having to go to all the games and things with the girls, it never even dawned on me to apply for Survivor or Big Brother, because I didn't have the time. But then all of a sudden I was like, well, now the girls are done and I'm sitting here with all this time on my hand, and I can move. Luckily, working for yourself, you can make things work. So I've just started applying for Survivor and Big Brother. So we'll see. Not that I'll ever get on, but I will say, now that it's over, now that they've cast season 49, I did get a call. So I did apply for season 49, and I did get a call from one of the casting people.
Do tell.
And well, she called and she interviewed me and she said, okay. She goes, I said, so what happens next? And she goes, what we do now is we take, all of us, the casting people, we take your tape and we kind of tell them the answers you gave over the phone, and then we present it to the producers. And the problem is, once you get to that stage, I think every producer in the room has to agree to send you to the next round, which the next round would be a phone call from Jeff Probst. So he literally calls you on a Zoom call and you have an interview with him. And if he feels a vibe with you, he invites you to fly out to, where did we fly into that airport? Right there by LA. It'll come to me in a minute. But anyway, they fly you out to California and put you in a hotel. And then they do the psychological testing, the physical testing. They ask you questions. And then I guess they try to put you under a whole lot of pressure. And so they get you in a room with a seat in the middle of the room. And like every producer of CBS and Big Brother or Survivor sits there staring at you, and they ask you questions and see how you do under pressure with because, you know, if you haven't seen the pictures, when you're on Survivor, there's literally, I don't know, 20, 30 cameras all pointed at you. It's crazy. And so you've got to be able to act normal and not crack under that pressure. And so they try to, but anyway, so I did get a phone call, and I was told, you can't tell anybody. You can't tell anybody, you know, that you've gotten this, and if you do make the show, you can't tell anybody that you're on the show, other than basically your spouse. You have to tell them, so if I ever disappear and I'm not podcasting, I've probably made it onto one of the shows, but I can't tell you. So,
but you can tell about the phone call
now, because I didn't make season 49.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now that they've already cast it,
okay.
I'm good, because what can they do? They can't kick me off season 49 so anyway, I did get a phone call. That's why I was talking about it so much, because I was kind of excited. I thought, oh wow, I at least got a phone, and that was just one. That was my first tape.
Jeff Probst.
Call me. So no, so anyway, the whole point of that was just go for it. I mean, what I've learned in being an entrepreneur and gotten the things that I've gotten is, if you don't ask, you're not going to get the yes. I mean, you got to ask, you got to do the stuff. You coming to Enid, is, I don't know, just kind of cool. It's like really cool. I mean, Todd and I are like, somebody's coming to Enid to be a part of the 70s buzz.
And I'm like, they're so excited that I'm coming to
yeah,
visit.
yeah. And that's what you guys may not know on the podcast is we really enjoy you guys. We like your feedback. We like your phone calls. We like your emails. We like Jeffrey sending us I mean, I got cards all over the place from Jeffrey.
I got some letters from Jeffrey.
Yeah. So and that's another thing that we've learned is Christopher Todd, and some people in his area have connected because they listen to the 70s Buzz podcast. So it's kind of cool that, and then you and Jeffrey, and I don't know, it's just kind of cool that people, different people that listen, start to connect. So.
And I'm just saying, I love every bit of this so much that, I mean, they stopped now, but just the fact that it's not lost on me, just the fact that I'm sitting here in this studio with you, and I'm looking out the window while we're doing the interview, watching Todd throw a Frisbee and Graham bringing it back to him while we're doing the interview. Like that, I love.
It's like everything we talk about really happens. We just,
I gave Graham a cookie.
Graham literally got his first cookie. We've given him, so we don't go off track very much. Every now and then it's one of those chewy treats, or I think we've given him a couple of Wishbone, but he's never had like a cookie.
That's about this big that looks, with frosting that looks like a mug of beer.
And it smells like a Christmas cookie that and Todd ate some of the icing and said it was good.
Did. We sniffed it. We were tempted to.
Yeah. So
Graham didn't know what to make of it, but I think he ate it.
I think he ate it, and now he's out there tearing up his Frisbee. So, but here, real quick. So this is actually part.
Oh, that's part of it. That's the bottom of the beer stein.
Bottom of the beer
He ate the
stein.
froth and the handle, I guess.
It literally smells like a gingerbread cookie or something.
Which is the best kind of cookie.
Yeah, it smells good.
You just reminded me. I have to go back to that place in downtown Enid to get more of the gingerbread wafers that were half price.
Was that at Broadway Antiques?
Probably. It's the one that's downtown. It wasn't Park Avenue. It was
it was Broadway Antiques.
It has like 3 floors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta go back there.
Yeah.
Gingerbread wafers, half price. Yummy.
Cool. Okay, I think that's really all I had. I think we've kind of covered it. So if you guys are listening to this podcast, don't forget that this is gonna be one of the episodes which is gonna be better to watch the video, because attached to this podcast there will be video of all the things that we did, things that we've done in Enid, things that we did in Oklahoma City. Hopefully Todd took a little bit of video out at the Gloss Mountains, and I'm going to put all that together and it's going to be Gretchen's Big Adventure, and you'll get to see Gretchen and all the stuff she did in Enid. And I've got to throw a disclaimer out there. I don't know that anybody would come for a week, but I don't know that we're probably ever going to be able to do everything for another listener that we did for you. So if you do come and we don't do everything that Gretchen got to do, don't be disappointed. We'll try to do as much as we can, but we kind of threw everything in and wanted to do it up for Gretchen because it's a big deal. I mean, it's a big deal for her coming to Enid, Oklahoma.
It's a very big deal. Probably a bigger deal for me than it is for you.
Well, it's a big deal for us too, I have to tell you.
It's a super huge deal for me.
And our friends were the same way. They were like, what? Who's doing what?
My one friend who lives in Delaware was texting me, give me the phone number of the guy you're staying with. If he doesn't want to give you the phone number, that's a huge red flag. You told me that there was no one watching out for you when you went to Arizona. Well, I'm watching out for you now. I want his phone number. Like, she was super protective.
There you go.
And other people looking at me sideways like, okay, so you're flying all the way to Oklahoma to stay with a couple of guys you've never met before ever for a week. I was like,
yeah. What's wrong with that?
And?
Yeah. So, and if you didn't know, if for some reason you only listen to this podcast and not our other ones, Gretchen is staying, Todd's got a guest house. And so Gretchen is actually staying in Todd's guest house, but that kind of puts her in Todd's house a lot. So
it's right up next to
they're right. It's kind of right together. So anyway, she's been a part of pretty much everything we've done all week. So
I cannot even There are no words to describe how grateful I am.
Well, we
that you
appreciate
guys
you. And
do
I know
this for me.
Todd's taken on, you know, Todd, he's in between projects. And so he's kind of chauffeured you around more than I have been able to. Even though I work for myself, there are certain things I have to get done every day, or Enid doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, if he didn't have me with him, he wouldn't have his debit card right now. So
There you go.
It works both ways.
Yeah, so we've had all kinds of fun little side adventures on the way, and I'll try to get all those in there, and we'll do that. Okay, so anything else before we get out of here?
Just big giant thank you.
Okay, you guys, appreciate you guys checking in, and enjoy this episode, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.